Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ursa and this is my very first video. I originally come from Slovenia, lived in Austria for 13 years and now since early 2021 live in Norway with my hubby. So let me start at the very beginning. I grew up in a small town in West Slovenia where I stayed until graduating from high school. My parents took my sister and me for a lot of trips around Europe during our school breaks, so I guess this is where I got my travel bug from. And discovering new places and learning new things is also how I got to the idea of studying abroad. After some research, thinking of the languages I spoke at the time, my absolute love for the Austrian capital Vienna, and my mom on the other hand complaining immensely about how far away this city was, I decided to take an advice of a family friend and explore Graz and its medical university. After quite some bureaucracy and passing the entrance exam which secured me a studying spot at the university, I was still quite unsure if I can really do this. New country, new city, new language, but also studying medicine, which I thought would be complicated even in my mother tongue. So long story short, I managed to survive the first year and got the long vacation I thought I definitely deserved. But second and third year proved to be much more challenging, not only from the medical school perspective, but also because of me missing home. At that point I was definitely not aware of it, but dealing with my homesickness was definitely something that made my studies harder, and I was not even sure if I should stay and study or should I take a leap year or maybe get closer to my friends and family. But I found a solution to deal with my homesickness, and this was a change of scenery. But as one might think that I would go home and be closer to my friends and family, this would not be the case here. I decided to go abroad. Well, I know you might say I was already abroad, but I decided to take an advantage of this amazing EU program called Erasmus exchange and applied for Norway. So I wanted to go more abroad from the abroad I already was. And in the process, while I was deciding which country or university I should apply for, I made a couple of lists with pros and contras. And this particular list, so Tromsø, Norway, had quite some pros on it. For example, studying in the northernmost university in the world or experiencing Polar Day and Polar Night. So I got through my exams and finally I was very excited to get on with my next adventure studying in Norway. So by mid-July I packed up my suitcases and got on a plane to Oslo. And while sitting on the plane and this took off, I suddenly bursted into tears. And not because I didn't want to go, but because it hit me for the first time that I was actually leaving my family. And I know I was abroad before, but you know the feeling when you're able to get in the car or hop on the train and just visit your family for the weekend? Well, this was not the case anymore. And somehow by the end of the day I managed to find my big girl pants again, put them on and decided I'm gonna try to make the best out of it. So after 3 weeks of intensive language course in Oslo, I changed the scenery to North Norway, where I spent my next 2 semesters. And I would say that this year was actually crucial for my medical path. Not only was the studies immensely interesting and I was learning a lot, but before that I was going from lecture to lecture, from exam to exam, and just trying to get through the medical school so at the end I would be able to work as a doctor. But quite early in this year I also realized that in order to not just only work in medicine but also be a good doctor and really be able to help people the best way I can, I want and need to really understand medicine. So after this point there was no problem anymore getting up in the morning, going to the lecture, learning some extra material or researching a bit to better understand the materia. And this is actually what motivated me even more and made so much more sense in altogether. At the end I also did some practical work, but then returned to Graz to continue with my medical school. The 6th year is in Austrian medical schools a very practical one. And one can, with exception for general medicine, also organize everything abroad. It takes a bit more organization, time, self-initiative and sometimes also some financial means, but usually in the end everything is really much worth it. I started my practical year with general medicine in a small town in eastern Styria, went to Karlsruhe, Germany twice, the first time for ophthalmology, which is a branch of medicine and surgery that deals with illnesses and treatments of eyes, and the second time for internal medicine. The surgical part was definitely the craziest and the biggest part of my medical studies. You will say, why the craziest? Well, let me start by explaining that at the point where I was organizing my practical part, so my 6th year, I was also thinking about the branch of medicine I later on wanted to work in. And surgery and emergency medicine were definitely branches I considered. Therefore, I decided to have a look at a branch of surgery, trauma surgery, at one of its best, at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital in Soweto, Johannesburg, South Africa. And I know, you still don't know why the craziest, but a couple of years before that, Johannesburg was constantly on top of every single list of the most dangerous cities in the world. So for this trauma department, the city provided a lot of trauma cases, stab wounds, gunshot wounds, burns, motor vehicle accidents, and so on and so on. So a lot of trauma, meaning very dangerous city, and me thinking of not really want to be there because I'm not going to be able to experience life outside of hospital at all. It turns out that life here is quite safe and nice if you just use some common sense. And on the other hand, you also have a lot of people that are open, friendly, and just very much ready to help. So all in all, I had an amazing experience, learned a lot, and got much more confident as a doctor, which is definitely something you want to be just off your med school. So after seeing and experiencing all these different branches of medicine, I decided along the way that I want to go back to my main interest, pathology. And I know you might say, why the heck pathology? Because it's so different from so many other branches of medicine that we are used to seeing on TV or just in hospital day by day. Well, let me explain you this in another video. But just to get back to my story in this video, let me tell you that in my 6th year, I was lucky enough to already have found a job as a resident of pathology at Institute of Pathology in LKH Graz 2. And when I returned to South Africa, finished my diploma paper and graduated in December 2013, was able to start my work as a pathology resident in January 2014. These 6 years of residency were everything I wished a workplace would be. Not only my colleagues were extremely nice, but also knew crazy lot about pathology and medicine in general. So I had a perfect platform to grow not only as a person, but also as a doctor. So if you know a bit about pathology, you know this is a huge expertise area and that you basically deal with the whole human body. So if you are an analytical person like I am, you want to get an overview and put everything in the small little boxes where everything is nicely organized, and this can be very demanding and exhausting. In the beginning, it takes just a lot of time to get an overview and at the same time learn the basics to create a solid ground where you can build your knowledge on. Good news is that it is manageable, and as a doctor, you never stop learning anyway. And in my 6 years, I was lucky enough to not be only able to study from great pathologists, but also spend 6 months each in the departments of microbiology, radiology, and dermatology. In September 2018, it was time to test my knowledge and take the specialist exam, which I passed. So after finishing my residency time in January 2020, I became a specialist in histopathology and molecular pathology. In this time, I also met my now husband Daniel, who is, by the way, also the brain of the technical part of these videos, and also much more, of course. And we got married on October 31st, 2020 and are enjoying our journey together. We decided to take our journey to Norway. We live in Drammen, where I also work as a pathology specialist. And on this path, we decided to take our journey to YouTube. It's a mix of life in Norway, facing problems, solving them, a lot of medicine, our hobbies, interests, traveling, and just life in general. So if you would like to know more, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also go to the comments and tell me what interests you and what you wanna know more about. So I will definitely try and cover this in one of my next videos. So for today, this would be everything, and I would like to thank you for watching. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye!